Today is the day. This alien is finally getting the colors it deserves. A few weeks back I sculpted this bust from Super Sculpey. I used my self-made sculpting tools to create all these little textures and details. But without paint, most of them are almost invisible. It felt like something was missing. So, let's start painting the alien. Hello and welcome back to Arvania Constructions. I wanted to try a new medium, but I couldn't leave this creature sitting there completely unpainted. For this alien I want to stay with more natural, earthy tones. Something that makes him feel like a creature that could actually exist somewhere. These are the colors I'll be working with. So I start mixing different beige and brown tones. I often look at amphibians and reptiles for color inspiration. For this one I decided to take inspiration from leopard geckos. I mean, have you ever looked at these little guys? Is there anything cuter? I mixed these different shades of brown with some white and a little bit of pink to create a warm yellowish beige, adding a little bit of grey to create a more muted and natural look. This first layer is basically the foundation for everything that comes afterwards. It gives the whole creature a unified color and helps the following layers stand out later. While applying the paint, I make sure to reach every area of the sculpt. Especially the small pores and deeper areas are important, because they will add a lot of depth once we start building up more colors. Now that the first layer is down, I want to use the facial color zones often seen in portrait painting. As this reference shows, the forehead usually contains more yellow tones. You'll also find them around the eyes and along the sides of the mouth. The cheeks, ears, nose and lips tend to appear more reddish. The lower part of the face, especially around the jaw and underneath the eyes, usually shifts towards cooler blue and grey tones. To apply this to the alien here, I start by adding a soft coral pink between and above the eyes, where the eyebrows would normally be, if he had any. From there, I continue the same color around the outer edge of the forehead and all the way towards the tip of the head. The upper part of the head gets a warm yellow tone, which I gently blend back into the pink to create a smoother transition. Underneath the eyes, I added turquoise to introduce some cooler tones. This technique is often used in traditional portrait painting to make faces look more natural and believable. I know we're not painting a human, and blood flow works very differently in other animals, but let's see if we can apply the same idea to this alien. The same color also finds its way onto the chin, helping to balance the face. The small ears, or rather the sensory organs that help the alien perceive its surroundings, also receive the warm reddish tone. Finally, I add some yellow around the corners of the mouth and across the chest area, blending everything together to keep the transition soft. Will anyone notice these layers once everything is finished? Maybe not, but we know they are there, and thankfully I've got a video evidence. So, to quickly sum it up, warm yellows on the forehead and upper chest, coral pink above the eyes, the mouth and the sensory organs, and cooler blue tones underneath the eyes and along the lower part of the face. Even though the color still looks quite strong at this stage, they'll become much more subtle once the next layers go on. The brush has done its job for now. For the next step, I switch to a sponge. I'm hoping this will soften everything without completely covering the color zones underneath. I still want those subtle variations to show through the following layers. Using a similar beige tone as before, I gently start dabbing the paint across the surface. Around the eyes, the mouth and the sensory organs, I strengthen the effect with another layer of soft pink. After that, I go over the entire bust once more with a lighter beige. Because I'm applying the paint with a sponge, the previous layers remain visible, creating a much more natural and varied surface. And this is where you can really see that those layers underneath are doing their job. If I applied these colors directly onto the Super Sculpey, the surface would look much flatter and wouldn't have the same depth. For the next stage of the painting process, I switched to my airbrush. This is a technique I haven't tried before, but I was inspired by the way similar methods are often used in special effects and creature design. I prepare a dark purple wash and add it to the airbrush. The goal is to create a subtle layer that makes the skin way more realistic and alive. This technique is about creating small, organic-looking cells across the surface. They are very subtle and they add another layer of complexity to the skin. Even though it might look like I'm barely applying anything right now, these small details will become much more visible once the painting process is finished. You can already see some of those subtle cell-like patterns appearing. As I mentioned before, this is actually my first time trying this technique, so I'm still figuring out what works best. I am slowly building up the color until the creature starts to feel right. These are some of my references, possible color ideas, and my initial sketch. Now I start airbrushing the spots onto the upper part of the head. As I mentioned before, I often look at reptiles for inspiration. Even some of my previous creatures use similar patterns and color variations. If you're interested in those projects, I'll leave a card here so you can take a look. When I started sculpting this alien bust, I already had a clear vision of how I wanted this creature to look. The sculpture is part of my growing world-building project of druids and droids. At the same time, the sculpture is an experiment, a way to explore how one of the creatures from my own world could look in reality. I imagine this little guy as someone who has its energetic days, but most of the time he is rather quiet and prefers to keep to himself. But he can also get quite annoyed when people don't take him seriously, which unfortunately happens quite often because of his size. That is the mood I wanted to capture in this sculpture. A little annoyed, eye-rolling, almost as if he is already tired of not being taken seriously. After adding all the spots, I use a brush to add a few smaller freckles across the skin. Next, I airbrush the eyelids with a soft orange pink, along with the mouth and the little ears, which, as we already established, aren't actually ears. This helps emphasize those softer areas of the skin and gives the face a bit more warmth. With that done, I can finally put the airbrush aside and move on to the eyes. My original plan was to give the alien some really cool frog-like eyes, so I started by painting them a very dark brown to build up that look. But after staring at them for quite a while, I just wasn't convinced. The iris didn't pop and the eyes felt completely lifeless. Instead of making the alien look more believable, they did the exact opposite. Since I had sculpted so many details into the iris, I didn't want to hide all that under a dark color. So I decided I can't live with that and I'm going to need to repaint them. That also explains why the eyes stay dark for a little while during this part of the video. Don't worry, I will fix them properly later on. I paint the iris with a medium brown, planning to gradually work my way towards lighter colors. But that barely makes a difference, so I switch to a warm yellow-green sand tone instead. To create more depth, I add a dark brown wash towards the pupil. That also leaves the outer edge of the iris slightly brighter, which gives the eye a bit more life. A lighter ring around the pupil helps define the center of the eye. Finally, I bring out the sculpted details inside the iris with a touch of beige, making the texture much more visible. Now I add a few smaller details, including some subtle veins using a red-purple wash. I use the same wash on the small folds of the lips to make them feel softer and more fleshy. I also use it to emphasize the wrinkles and folds around the eyes. And the excess paint gets carefully dabbed away. One thing I really like about Vallejo paints is how much pigment they have, while still allowing me to work in very thin layers. When painting a sculpt like this is really important. Thick layers of paint would quickly cover up all the small textures and details I spent so much time creating. Compared to many traditional artist acrylics, which are often designed for larger surfaces like canvas, miniature paints like Vallejo are designed to be used in very thin layers while still giving you great coverage. For a sculpt like this, I don't want to hide the details under a thick layer of paint. I want every little pore and texture to stay visible. After painting the caruncle of the eye with a soft pink, it is time for another wash. I apply it across the entire bust, allowing the wash to settle into the sculpted details and create more depth. Of course, not every member of his species would have the same personality, but Pango, as I call him, has a certain indifference about him. He doesn't really care what others think or say, even when those opinions are directed at him. The only thing that bothers him are the people who feel the need to make those unnecessary comments in the first place. He thinks they are dumb, and I can't deny. Using a sponge, I carefully remove the excess and soften the effect. And now, as promised, it is time to fix the eyes. The brighter base immediately makes the whole face feel much more friendlier. Maybe my next creature will actually get those frog eyes after all. Who knows? I paint a waterline with a soft pink tone before adding a reddish wash around the outer edge of the eyeball to make the eyes feel more natural. Finally, I seal them with a glossy varnish to give them that wet, shiny look. I intentionally decided against using UV resin for the eyes. I'm concerned that over time it could become yellowish or cloudy, which would hide all the details I worked on. Now, all that's left is to put him back onto the statue base I designed in part 1. And with that, I think we're done for today. Let's see the final result. I have to say, I'm really happy with how this little guy turned out. Seeing him fully painted makes such a huge difference compared to the original sculpt. I hope you like him as much as I do. If you enjoyed this journey, leaving a like and using the hype button would really help support the channel. And now I have another idea. What if I created a life-size version of this little guy? With clothes, a full body and all the details that come with it? Or would you rather like to see a completely new creature from this world? Let me know in the comments. Oh, and also, if you haven't seen my previous video yet, feel free to check it out. And remember, once we reach 4,000 subscribers, this huge diorama will get another update. So make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Become a part of this world and help decide what comes next. Until then, see you in the next one.